Hi guys,
Hello,
welcome
everyone.
back to our podcast. This is Smriti and Janani here. We're back after our very long break. We're sorry for that.
Yeah.
And happy New Year.
Yeah, Happy New Year from the both of us to you all, and we hope this year is not as bad, um, and that everyone has a good time, and yeah,
Yeah. So we are back with a very interesting topic and something
yep,
in line with one of our, we could say, our most popular episode till now. And we're back
yeah.
at it.
Out of six, we've got yeah,
Yeah. So we're
yeah, and
back
it's
at,
current news too. You might know.
yeah. So
So
sometime last month in December, we found the article that the Zodiac killer's ciphers and his encrypted messages were decoded after 51 years. So the topic for today is the Zodiac killer, the serial killer who is still unknown, and just the psychology behind cryptography, or like serial killers and cryptography. So yes, over to
yeah,
Smriti.
exactly. Yeah, so for people who don't know who the Zodiac Killer is, I'll just give you like a little briefing before Janani gets into the interesting stuff about cryptography. So the Zodiac Killer obviously came around the time when serial killing was a new trend in the US around like the 60s and 70s. So the thing with him is that he does share a lot of common traits with other very famous serial killers like the BTK, Raider, and everyone. But he only had a known five victims, as in the police were only able to confirm that he had killed five people, but it's speculated that he might have killed more. So the whole concept of the Zodiac killer became known when in 1969 there was a note that was sent to like three newspapers in San Francisco, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, San Francisco, about a person who was like, there was a murder of a couple last Christmas, the Christmas of 1968, and I was the person who did it. So it was a person who was basically confessing to a crime that had no alleged, culprit. And along with the note, he had included a cryptogram, right? So I mentioned he sent three notes to three newspapers. So each note had a part of the cryptogram. So when you combine the three, you get a message. So obviously the newspapers were all like, what the hell is this? What do we do with this information? But they had no choice but to publish it on the front page because he had threatened that if they don't publish it on the front page, he would go kill again. So obviously they did. So when the note was published, I think there was a couple who like solved the first cryptogram that came out, and it went something along the lines of, oh, this is just like a wild game for me, and it was fun and all that. It was something along the lines of that. So obviously people were really like, this became like a sensation, right? So it was like a serial killer. The concept was new. People were like, what is this? Like, why is this happening? So the same year, 1969, when he sent the first note, he went and he killed another couple. But this time, one of one of the pair actually survived, and she was able to give like a sketch of what he looked like. They were able to get fingerprints from the crime scene, but they still weren't able to like track down who the guy was. So he again, I think this time he sent another set of notes, and it was basically like just him like mocking the police, saying, yeah, he again went on another killing spree the same year with another couple, and this was at a different location. The first two happened at Vallejo, I believe, in San Francisco, and the third one was at Napa Valley. And this time he also went for a couple. Again, like the same thing. The one of the couples survived. The police immediately were able to come to the scene and everything. They were able to take, like evidence and all of that, but they still weren't able to like get a hold of who the guy was. So right after he like, assaulted the couple at the location, he went ahead and he called the police, and he was like, I just did this at this location. So obviously that's why the police were able to immediately go there. So after this, he again, like, he taunted them through the phone. He did all of this, but the police was still not able to catch him. So obviously to him at this point, it became apparent to the public and to the police that it was like a little game for him. He was having fun. He was doing this for attention. So after this, this became his MO. Like he went after couples, especially during the holiday time or he always killed them at night time or something like that. So after this, he kind of went astray from his modus operandi so far, and he went and he killed a taxi driver. And he again made a call to the police. And this time he said something along the lines of, "Oh, I just killed this taxi driver." This, and I think he made the call like months after he had killed him, or like a considerable amount of time,
Yeah,
right?
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so he had called and he was like, "Oh, I killed that taxi driver, like a couple weeks ago, I killed him." Because the police were like, obviously, it's not a couple, so it can't be the Zodiac killer, right? Um, he admitted to the crime and I think he said something along the lines of, "I wish I could just go like bomb a bus full of school kids and like, take all the kids out at one by one as they come out." So it was just
Yeah.
really
He actually wanted to
creepy
like
stuff.
shoot the tires so that um,
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
bus
Like the
will
bus like
just
rolled off or
roll
whatever.
down
Yeah.
and get
So
on or take on the children as they drop out. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. I think those were his exact words. So obviously this was very creepy and it was very off-putting, and the police were trying to like stop this from happening. But right after this, he went AWOL. As in, there was no other apparent murders that happened that was connected to him. And another notable point was that he signed his notes with like a circle with a cross through it. I think Janani can show you a picture.
Yeah, I'll
Or I'll
show
put
you
one up.
how that looks. So this is how it looks. This is his signed signature that he claims and is presented at the end of each of his crypto letters.
Yeah, exactly. So the thing is, I think this went on up until like 1974. It started sometime around 1969, the notes, I mean, not the murders, and it went up until 1974. And up until that point, the police obviously could not catch who he is. Up until now, obviously the case is open, it's a cold case. So this is like the basic like gist of what he did and why he's called that. But I want to give you a little background as to like a psychological background as to why he may have done these things. I think many psychologists agree, like a most common agreement was that he obviously did this for attention, right? Because he obviously like taunted the police. He wanted to like feel very superior
Yeah.
and powerful and be like, it's all about dominance. It was about power and control that he wanted. So I think that was the main goal of him killing people. It was to get attention. It wasn't to like kill them per se. So obviously psychologists say because he lacked those things in his own life. So he looked for
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
in this very violent, outrageous way. Um, and obviously because this was like just to like get attention, it was noted that just killing these people might have just been like a wild game for him. And he notes that in one of the first notes he sent out. He was like, "This is just like a wild game for me. It's like a hunt." To him, it was just a thrill, right? It was like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I get to kill someone. I get attention for it. Great." Right? And this is also shown because he doesn't do his killings in like, he does it in a very obvious way.
Yeah, I
Like
was
he
just
didn't take them
to tell
to like
you.
a
Yeah.
secondary exactly, right? He didn't take them to like a secondary secluded spot. He just like, "Oh, you guys are a couple, okay, I'm gonna shoot you both," and like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna call the police and be like, yeah,
Yeah.
I killed these two people on vacation."
There was no pattern in terms of timing also. Like timing as in, yes, there was an observation that he used to kill before dawn or after dusk.
After
Yeah, but there was no like fixed time interval between the two. Sometimes it was sporadic, sometimes it was like a spree, or like sometimes it was planned. So yeah, we
exactly,
don't
yeah.
know.
I think many people also show that he also said that he showed signs of both like a spree killer and a serial killer, right? A spree killer is someone who just like goes around killing people for the fun, and a serial killer is someone who's just more calculated in what they do. And as I said before, he showed signs of both because the first four people he killed, a couple and another couple, there was obviously a pattern, but then he went ahead and he killed like a taxi driver, and then he was like, I'm going to kill a bus full of kids. So obviously there was no fixed MO that he had. And I think like another psychologist said that he might have had paranoid and schizophrenic personality disorder, which I guess is kind of expected with people who do these crimes, because obviously there's some sort of
Yeah,
dissonance in their personality. So
yeah,
yeah,
some sort of psychopathy which is
yeah,
not wrong.
exactly. And they also mentioned that like the reason why he seeked control and power and this attention here was probably because he led like a very terrorized life, right? Where he was often very subdued, maybe. And they also mentioned that he would have probably gone after couples because he probably couldn't maintain a stable love relationship himself. I couldn't find any proper reasoning behind it, because I mean it kind of makes sense, but then like I would love to hear like a proper explanation behind why
Yeah.
that could be.
So the whole problem is that we don't know anything about the history of the person, his childhood, his education, nothing. And
Exactly,
at
true,
least with
true,
the
true.
cases of like Ted Bundy or like the BTK killer, all that we knew
Yeah,
who the person was, so we could track down their history. We could see their parents, their upbringing, their education, all that factors that helped diagnose or at least give us a clear picture of why they were doing what they were doing. But in this case, since it's a
exactly.
cold case, it's a huge loss of information.
And I think all the psychologists who like said, I think the a very major portion of it was contributed by this handwriting analyst who actually analyzed the handwriting that he wrote the notes with, and from that he was able to deduce a lot of things. So I guess most of this could just be speculation and like noticing patterns from other people who also went ahead and killed like him. But yeah, we can't know anything for sure. All we know is that he's a guy, just like from the character sketches that's been given, but we can't know anything about his personal life or mental state. So yeah, most of this could just be speculation from his actions.
Yeah, yeah. Like,
So
and another thing, maybe that one piece of information which could be a game changer is that since he killed before dawn
uh,
and after dusk, he probably held a proper morning job.
yeah, yeah, I remember reading that he was probably like a 9 to 5 worker.
Yeah,
So obviously he could only do something way early or like after that. But yeah, many people have said that he might have had like multiple personality disorder or
yeah,
paranoid or schizophrenic. Another thing was that many people thought he may have been narcissistic
yeah,
because he
which is
craved attention, right?
yeah very
It kind of
understandable.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah, kind of
yeah.
makes sense. So yeah, that's like all the possible information they could get about the Zodiac killer. So yeah, if you could talk about the cryptography and like the recent news that broke out.
Yeah, so let's start with just like cryptography. Like, it's so fascinating and interesting to see that
I completely
like
agree.
people have the brains and spend so much time encoding these messages, and especially at a time where softwares were not there, there were no
True.
computers. They had the intelligence to, and like the patience also. Like you and I don't think we'd have the patience to sit and create a
To
new
like come up with a
language for
completely new
ourselves.
language that like no one could figure out. Yeah.
Exactly, exactly. So I think that probably shows the level of dedication, or in a more negative way, their one-mindedness to achieve whatever they wanted to.
Yeah, yeah. True.
So yeah, that's probably why they were so dangerous to society in the like how they would go to any extent to do what they wanted. So an interesting thing is like in my opinion, from whatever like I've read, it may be like the people like serial killers in particular who use cryptography in their communication. Probably they just want to feel more superior because they feel like the other people are below them in the sense that they cannot decipher their language, It gives them a false sense of superiority, but still boosts their self-esteem. And
Exactly. And another point I'd like to add is probably it's probably because they just feel like it's a game. Like, hey,
yeah,
look, I'm throwing you a puzzle piece, I'm throwing you a piece of clue, figure it out if
yeah,
you can.
yeah,
Like,
catch me if
like
you
that.
can. Yeah, this is your
Exactly.
chance. If you're intelligent enough, you can. So just like the
Exactly.
Zodiac killer thought, which is very understandable, like any human mindset would do that to feel superior. So yeah, like they also feel invulnerable.
Yeah, but
Like, sorry.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I mean, like, it's that, but like to push to the extreme. So,
Yeah,
like, if we empathize too much,
a dangerous extreme.
yeah, true.
Yeah, to feel like invulnerable, like the Zodiac killer. Okay, God forbid he's still alive, but uh, we don't know. And like it probably gave him a sense of invulnerability because nobody could decipher it while he was there. Obviously, now it's been done after the advent of computers, which were actually present years ago, but probably didn't have the resources to do this, or did not have obviously a priority to figure this out
Mm-hmm.
because it became a cold case. But yeah, and maybe it just made them feel safe. They knew they were committing crimes. They knew they were followed, and they were the prime targets and suspects for all the murders and all the
True.
any abuse, and that they were literally lurking under the nose of the policemen. So I think it
Yeah.
just gave them a false sense of safety by using cryptography in their communication. So it's really interesting, like people who go this far with like steadfastness that was used for evil ways, but still it's very interesting and fascinating to see how they worked. So I kind of found a few sources where,
How to weaponize it?
yeah, like where killers have left ciphers. So yeah, it's very interesting. I'll read out a few, and it dates back to really old, like 1883. There was
Oh.
someone called Henry Debosnis. So
Mm-hmm.
he was convicted of murdering his wife, Betsy, after the jury deliberated for all of 9 minutes. But when the case was dug deeper, it was found that it was not his only spouse who died under mysterious circumstances. He first drowned his first wife and starved his second wife. So this was his third wife. So like he had left behind like gloomy poems, figure sketches, and enciphered messages, combining mathematical looking symbols with pictograms, all neatly rendered in ink. And one page shows Henry's self portrait, while some includes sketches of pretty women who may have been his victims. We never know. So this is an unsolved cipher. I will show it to you right now. It's very interesting. It has a sign. It has a self-portrait. So this is how it looks. And it's very
Wow.
interesting, and it's very intricate, and for a date of 1883, it's very fascinating that
Yeah.
something like
It's
this was
almost kind
even
of
thought of.
like a little bit eerie, but yeah, it's like from
Yeah.
almost a century ago. Was this ever solved?
No. No, it was unsolved. Meaning he was convicted of the murder of his
Yeah,
third wife,
nobody could
but the
like break the script. Yeah,
no,
okay.
no, the ciphers still remain unsolved. There's another one of Paul Rubin,
Mhm.
1953. So in 1953, a large male body was found dead in a ditch by the Philadelphia airport with enough potassium cyanide in his system to kill 10 men, and a cipher taped to his abdomen. So, it dates back a lot, and in this particular cipher, there were two name droppings. So, the typewritten cipher found taped to his belly included a pair of undisguised names, Dulles and Conant, tucked into
Mm-hmm.
strings of indecipherable words and numbers. So, when this was investigated, it was found that John Foster Dulles was at the time designated by President Eisenhower to become the new Secretary of State, and Dr. James B. Conant. So Dulles and Conant, the two name droppings, were actual people. And Dr. James B. Conant, then president of Harvard University, was slated to become America's first High Commissioner in West Germany. So it like pointed to potential high intrigue, like maybe the victim was identified as a college student from an Orthodox Jewish neighborhood in Brooklyn. But yeah, there was no progress made after that. But maybe he was a spy. There were a lot of speculations about that. So yeah, so we now come to the Zodiac Killers ciphers. This happened between late 1960s and early 1970s. Like 1974, as you said, was his last case, and he went. I don't know. He went away. Yeah. So I'll show you a picture. Okay, let me show you a picture of the Dulles and Conant cipher. It looks very odd, like really like complex odd.
That almost looks like computer language.
Yeah, right? It looks like some binary language that we can't
So
decipher.
he's like very clearly just spelled out the name, but the rest is just like string of numbers and words.
Yeah.
Damn, okay.
And let's go to the Zodiac Killers cipher. It's damn interesting. It's really intriguing. So this is called the Z340 cipher because it had 340 characters in it, and the Z was just to like categorize it for the Zodiac Killer. So this is how it looked. This literally looks like hieroglyphs broken down, but yeah.
It looks like it was taken from inside of a cave or something.
Exactly. So we now know who the Zodiac Killer was. So no. Meaning we got a backstory of it from Smriti. We don't know who it is. No, we don't. We still don't know who it is.
But yeah, they don't.
Yeah, so he created these encrypted messages apparently for the sole purpose of taunting the authorities. We knew, like we just heard about how he kept telling them that they can't still catch him, they're cowards and all that. So this Z40 is a crudely handwritten grid of letters and symbols that has challenged cryptography experts for nearly 50 years. So the 51st year, which is this year, was when it was deciphered. So wait, I want to tell you a little more about this particular how they deciphered it. So a week after this letter was originally sent in the 1970s, a couple in Salinas, California, cracked the. Okay. I'm talking about a different cipher. So
the first one.
Yeah. So Zodiac Killer sent out many ciphers, okay, which were obviously, as Smriti told, he wanted it to be published in the newspapers and the magazines and whatnot so that the people get to know. And one of his earliest ciphers, which was published in the paper after a week that it was published, a couple in Salinas, California, cracked the cipher, and it seems the Zodiac Killer revealed that he was collecting slaves for the afterlife, and that he wouldn't disclose his identity because doing so would interfere with those plans. So the story of how this saving people for afterlife comes into play also is revealed in his last Z340 cipher. So So the thing is, the couple who deciphered this was killed afterwards, right?
Ah, ah,
Yeah,
were they?
yeah.
I think the Napa Valley couple. When were they killed? 1969?
Yeah, November 1969.
July 5th, July, August 5th, Chronicle.
Week after the letter, the couple is
ஸ்டூடெண்ட்ஸை கில் பண்ணியிருக்கான் லேக் பெரேஸ்டால. நாப்பா கவுண்டி பேரு. It doesn't say that it was this
It was
couple.
this couple. Okay, so okay. Okay, maybe I just understood it wrong from a few articles that I read. Okay, so okay, he hasn't
So
killed
it's
this.
after the couple decoded that lindarambi.
Okay, so after he sent out his first few ciphers, a couple in Salinas, California cracked the cipher, and it seems the Zodiac killer revealed that he was collecting slaves for the afterlife and that he wouldn't disclose his identity because doing so would interfere with those plans. And it was ever since those amateur people were starting to decipher things, the FBI took it seriously, and they've actually worked ever since to like spend time and effort cracking this. Okay, so the decoded message, which was done about afterlife and all that, after this deciphered cipher message was put out to the public, and there was some mention by some police officer or someone about putting him in gas chambers, or a mention that he's afraid of the gas chambers. And yeah, so the mention of the TV show and gas chambers refers to a call made to a talk show on KGO TV a month earlier, in which someone claimed to be the Zodiac killer, said, "I need help, I'm sick, I don't want to go to the gas chamber." So somebody called into the TV saying that I am the Zodiac killer and I don't want to face the gas chamber. So later he as a reply to this, I think he sent the C340 Z340 cipher, and it was finally decoded December 2020. And it was done by Oren Chak, a 46-year-old software developer in Virginia, and said the 340 is what's known as a transposition cipher. Most ciphers used today by computers rely on mathematics to scramble messages, and transposition ciphers, by contrast, are largely relics from the past that use rules to rearrange the characters or groups of characters in the message. So transposition ciphers rearrange messages in a wide variety of ways, and a common way is by rearranging columns of a message. And the message in the 340 was probably rearranged by manipulating triangular sections cut from messages written into rectangles. So it's very complicated. So it's a lot to do with manipulating the shape of each letter. And Orenchak and his colleagues developed an app that helped him and his colleagues unravel the puzzle. And Orenchak was not the only one who was doing it. And they were working on this case from 2006. And the other two men on the team are Sam Blake, an applied mathematician who lives in Australia, and Van Eyck, a warehouse operator in Belgium. And this warehouse operator is also the software developer behind the As Decrypt, a code breaking app that was inspired by his drive to crack the 340. So, having talked about how this has been decoded, let's just read out the whole decoded message. Okay, so the decoded message reads that I hope you're having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise, so they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise death. So it's very dark, it's very eerie, and there's a common thing here that paradise is misspelled, supposedly purposefully with a C
Yeah, yeah.
instead of an S, just to
Yes.
make it look like he's dumb or he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not well read or something like that. But people say if a person could do this, I don't think the spelling error was unintentional.
Exactly.
Yeah, so we
I
don't
think
know why it's still there.
people speculated that he might have been homeschooled,
Okay.
but again, you can never know for sure, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, even though it's like exciting to know that this thing has like come to the light after so many years, it's kind of still like a itch you can never scratch at that you can't find out
Yeah.
who this dude is.
Exactly. Like when we talked about Ted Bundy and all, we had some closure, and it was
Yeah.
not this eerie because we know he's not there anymore.
Exactly. I think it's also to do with the fact that, he just showed so much of himself. Like we could justify his actions because we knew him so well. But with this guy, we're just like,
Do you think in that aspect Ted Bundy is dumber to have tried to fool the whole world?
I don't think he's dumber per se. I mean,
Like it was a
uh,
poor
he
decision by
also
him.
did it for attention, right? I mean, I guess
Of course.
he wasn't clean with his crimes. To him, it wasn't game. He killed because he wanted to. And I think just, like in the rush of it, he obviously could not cover up his crimes well. So he got caught. And he did a pretty good job of manipulating the public into, like, believing that he was not the dude who did those awful things. But obviously, he got the electric chair in the end, so it doesn't matter.
True, true. But yeah, maybe like he thought he could deceive the world, but he was super in a very vulnerable and in an open state. So like
True,
people
exactly.
knew his face, people could track him, people could hold him accountable for whatever he said because they knew who the face behind the voice was. But here it's not the case, and I think like this is more dangerous than something like that because even when he was stalking girls and the sketches were already revolving in the news,
Yes,
some girls
true.
were aware that this guy is troublesome and they left and they could escape, but that's not the case over here.
True. I think the only reason that he kind of got away with it for a while, like, he pleaded his own case, he escaped from the police, like, was because he was charming, right? He knew how
Yeah.
to speak well and smooth talk and like get his way
Hmm.
of things. So
So
obviously
yeah.
people believed a lot to that. But I guess, yeah, once he showed his face, so once word got around, there was stuff like this going on. I've read like a couple stories on the internet where I was like, oh, my mom used to like go to college here in the 70s and like she noticed this one guy who came and asked for help, but she was wary because she had heard these things happen. So she didn't go. And I was like, obviously people were like aware,
Yeah.
right? So obviously
Yeah.
it worked.
And he targeted people more often, and his was more like his was not sporadic. His was very calculated, and there was a pattern in all his
Yeah,
crimes
he
too.
kind of tried to throw people off the trail by like
Yeah,
finding the murder in different places. Like I think he did one in Utah and one in Florida or something. But yeah, obviously it didn't work. So glad he got caught.
Yeah. But yeah, so this is
Yeah, it was
a
just like
short
something we came
podcast.
across. We both were super interested in it and wanted to cover
Yeah.
it. So it's gonna be, yeah, we were glad we're able to look more into this and like kind of get more info on what has been uncovered. So
Yeah,
yeah, we hope you
and
guys enjoyed it.
yeah, and also give a short glimpse of how cryptography is.
Yeah, true. It was like I didn't know there were other like killers who had done this before because
Yeah,
obviously serial
neither
killing
did
as a
I.
concept only came around in the 70s. So to know that people who had done it before the concept was like well known to the public, I didn't know about that. So it was cool to
So
learn.
maybe we can, in the future, maybe study if people, if there is any trait or any behavioral patterns that are associated with the tendency to
True, that
cipher
would
communication. Yeah, maybe a lot of
that would
scope for.
be very much linked. So,
Yeah. So this is a short episode for you guys so that you guys enjoy it more and engage with this more.
hopefully.
Yeah. So I hope you
Uh,
liked this episode. It's our fourth episode. We're back after a break. And yes, 2021, you're gonna have a lot more episodes. We promise you that. We kind of might promise you regularity too. Let's see about that.
yeah, we hope to be consistent, obviously,
Yes.
because we're still starting out and we're figuring this out and we want to get better along the way. So hopefully we have better quality, better content, much more than what we have now. So yeah,
Okay, that's Smriti and Janani signing off. I hope you have a lovely day, afternoon, or evening ahead. Bye bye, guys.
yeah. Bye guys.